Hello again. We're going to do some more factoring, but this time we're going to have this other special term, this special type here. You see that A in there? We saw earlier that if that A was a 1, then all we had to do was look for two numbers. We'd fill this up here, and we'd find two numbers whose product was C and whose sum was B, and that did the job. Okay. Now, this one we have a little bit more bookkeeping to take care of here. Let's try, as an example, let's try this one. Okay, so we are out to factor this now. Now we will try again this form because we know that these can occur if we have products of this form, the binomial product like that. Now, so instead of having just an x squared here, we have a 5x squared. It doesn't change our reasoning by much. We just have to make sure that we put in an x and an x and then a 5 with a 1. That will make 5x squared. Now, we will keep track of that, though, because that's going to affect our reasoning over here. Now, we need a -7 over here. So that's, you don't have a lot of choices. You'll have to go with a 1 and a 7. And since it is negative, I got to make one of these negative. So maybe I'll make a -1 and a +7. So there is some trial and error here. We're going to see if this works. Now, here's a quick way to do the test. We already know that we got this covered and we got this covered. Question is, what happens in the middle here? Well, that comes from this, which is a -x. This times this is -x, and this times this is a 35x. Now, if that adds up to the 34, we're in business. Okay, so let's see what we got here. 34. All right, well, so I was very lucky on that first try. I mean, super lucky. You can't, I mean, if I had just randomly had chosen this, for example, if I had just said, oh, I'm going to put a 7 and a 1, and I'll make this a negative and a plus. And that takes care of this -7 here, and takes care of the 5x squared. What about the 34? Well, let's do the test in here. This would be a -7x product, and this would be a 5x product. That adds up to -2x. That's all wrong then. This is wrong. This is a wrong factorization. Okay, it doesn't work. So I could easily have stumbled onto that in my first try, but I didn't. I got this one. I was lucky. Okay, so if this happens to you and you get a -2x, then you try something else. Maybe this is your next try. Try this instead. In other words, reverse the 1 and the 7, put them in different places and see if that helps. That too might not work in the future. When switching, you might have to try some other combinations. There could be many combinations depending on what's the number up here in the front. We'll see some examples as we go through when that happens. Okay, sorry for that pause there. We got another example here. Let's factor this thing. Okay, so here it is. And again, notice the 18 in the front, but we're still going to try what we did before. Now, I'm going to purposely try a 2x and a 9x because 2 times 9 is 18. Okay, and x times x is x squared, so that's covered. Now that leaves the 14 over here. So I might try, I don't know, 7 and 2. And since it's negative, I gotta make one of these negative, one positive. Now let's see if that works out for us. So We know it'll be the negative 14. We're only worried about that negative 9 in the middle. So let's test it. We got a 63x, and over here we have a negative 4x. That adds up to what, 59? And that isn't even close to negative 9. So this is way off. So that doesn't work. Let's try something else. Do you think it would help if I move the 2 and the 7? In other words, put the 2 here, 9x, and make the 7 over there. I don't think it's going to work, and I'll tell you why. Here, I've got these two 2's grouped together, which implies that the 2 could come out in front of this expression, which implies that a 2 can come out in front of this expression. So that means it isn't going to work. Okay, so I wouldn't even try this 2 with a 2. It isn't going to work. You can test it if you want, but when you see the 2's together like that, that means there's a common factor of 2 from the original expression, which we can see obviously there's not. So this doesn't work. This will not work. So don't try that. Which means, what else do we try? You could try 14 and 1. You can do this. And 9x with a 14. And we got to make one of them negative, right? You could try that. So, well, again, you would get the negative 14 and you would get the 18, but in the middle, you're going to get a 9x, and over here, you're going to get a minus 28x. That makes a, what, negative 19x? Still not quite. We're getting better. We're getting closer to negative 9. But that's the end of the road for that try. Let's try one more thing. Let's try, we didn't do this. Let's try 3x and 6x. Let's try that, since that's also 18x squared. And then we'll go back to our 7 and our 2. Let's see what happens with 1 minus and 1 plus. Let's check it out. 42x and a negative 6x. That doesn't work. That's going to give you what? 36x, right? So no good. Let's try something else. Let's try 3x, 6x. This time I'll put the 7 over here and the 2 here. And I don't know, I'll make this a negative and I'll make this a plus. Okay, so that was a guess. Now in here I'm going to have a 12x, and out here I'm going to have a minus 21x. That's a negative 9x. I finally got it. So it was a lot of work, but I finally got my answer here. So this is the answer you would state. This is the factored form. Okay, that is your solution. That does the job. It took us a few tries to get it. Later on, I'm going to show you another method that you might like better to maybe narrow this down. I've got a couple of methods to attack this, but this method is sometimes known as guess and check. The students like to give it a name, guess and check, trial and error. But anyway, we'll see a little bit more of that later. So that gives you enough to work on there.